just no hope for a world with no war and no hate is far beyond what we all can dream of. But I know love is what we need more of. Peace will surely follow love. Whatever the problem, I know we can solve them. You know and I know love is what we need more of. Peace will surely follow love. Whatever the problem, I know we can solve them. You know and I know. Due to the absence of love, images can't be formed of utopia. Is there hope for a race of beings that can love? Why would I kill for money if everything was free? Like life was meant to be for you and for me. You know that I know that you know that I know love is what we need more of. Peace will surely follow love. Whatever the problem, I know we can solve them. You know and I know love is what we need more of.
There's such a thing, yo. And if you use it, the power is limitless. There's nothing that you can't do, nothing we can't do. When it's applied to its fullest, the truest meaning of the word, and the energy that lies inside. I wish all of you the highest of this power. And I pray and meditate
Love can,
that you will be able to use it
love can save
for the advantage of the whole universe.
Love will,
It's not a selfish word or
love will,
power or force,
love will save the day.
and it contains healing,
Love can, love
truth,
can,
justice for all,
love can save the day.
the highest stream of consciousness in which we all can exist
Love will
and coexist.
save the day.
There's enough for everyone.
Love is what we
Can't
need
run out.
more of.
All you can do is not tap into the source, hold the rest back.
The problem, I know we can solve them.
But it's for you, I tell you, for all of you, for all of us.
Love is what we need more of. Peace will surely follow love. Whatever the problem, I know we can solve them. You know and I know. Love is what we need more of. Peace will surely follow.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Pangea World Theater's live watch party of the Burning Truth Project. My name is Andrina. I'm one of the co-creators and performers of this piece. And to my left, I have Katia and Sarah, the other creators and performers here.
We are coming to you from the backyard of Mina and Dipankar, the artistic directors of Pangea World Theater, where we first performed the Burning Truth Project as part of a series called Another World is Possible, Pangea Artists and Vision, that came together in the summer of 2020 as an opportunity for Pangea staff members to respond to the events happening here in the Twin Cities.
So Katia reached out to Andrina and me and invited us to create a musical response to the events happening. We weren't far from having sheltered in place here in Minneapolis due to the pandemic. Then George Floyd was murdered, and then we had the uprisings, and then. In 2022, we still have things that we need to talk about, still have burning truths that we wanted to share. So we reprised the show in June, and you'll see a performance that we did with the help of Walker West.
We invite you to participate in the chat throughout the show. Let us know if moments are resonating with you or if you have questions about how the show all came together. And we're really excited to get to share this with you today.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
The boat goes to the bottom, to the bottom. The boat goes to the bottom, to the bottom. The boat goes to the bottom, to the bottom. The boat goes to the bottom. And people don't care, standing in the middle of the boat goes to the bottom. Down, 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 to the bottom. Goes down to the boat goes to the bottom. Nobody reacts, the captain shouts, clear off the deck, we're sinking like a stone, but they don't care, standing in the middle of the boat goes to the bottom. Goes down, 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 to the bottom. Goes down to the boat goes to the bottom. Yeah, 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 yeah. Boat goes to the bottom, to the bottom. The boat goes to the bottom. Nobody reacts, the captain shouts, put on your life jacket, we're sinking by the bow, but they don't care, standing in the middle of the boat goes to the bottom. Yeah, yeah, yeah. To the bottom. Goes down to the boat goes to the bottom. Yeah, 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 yeah. Boat goes to the bottom. To the bottom. The boat goes to the bottom. But they don't care. But they don't care. But they don't care. Standing in the middle of the boat. The boat goes. Standing in the middle of the boat goes to the bottom. To the bottom. The boat goes to the bottom. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of the killing of Winston Smith in uptown Minneapolis. So, some days, all I can see is the water we're taking on, but I'm too tired to lift my arms.
Some days I can feel the efforts of those around me, but a lot has changed.
And a lot hasn't.
The boat goes to the bottom. It's been 2 years since the first Burning Truth project, and Minneapolis still has not effectively banned no-knock wardens or enacted noticeable reforms in the Minneapolis Police Department.
The Supreme Court is about to make a decision impacting reproductive rights, denying people's reproductive rights.
And police are still killing Black and brown people.
The boat goes to the bottom. We must face the truth about our history and the current reality of racism and discrimination in the United States.
And yet, that truth is being outlawed in schools and states across our nation.
Lone gunmen are killing people in schools, grocery stores, and hospitals.
But they don't care.
But they don't care.
But they don't care. Standing in the middle of the boat. The boat goes. Standing in the middle of the boat goes to the bottom. To the bottom. The boat goes to the bottom.
I'd like to dedicate this song to my grandfather, Michelangelo Cardenas. Cuando lo estaba queriendo, cuando lo estaba sintiendo, todito mío, lo vi partir. Me juró que regresaba, pero todo era mentira, porque ya su alma no era de mí. noche silenciosa nos miramos frente a frente. Sin hablar, cuando me dijo de pronto que olvidara su cariño, que no me quería engañar. Fue bajo del crucifijo de la torre de la iglesia, cuando la luna nos alumbró. Yo lo estreché entre mis brazos con ganas de detenerlo, pero mi orgullo me lo impidió. Ya sola frente a la iglesia y llorando ante el Cristo, fui a implorar, a contemplar mi tristeza. El crucifijo de piedra también se puso a llorar. My name is Katerina Maria Cardenas, Katia for short. I am white and Hispanic. Yes, you can be both. But unlike most white people, I get asked where I'm from all the time. Something about my exotic sounding name. And when people do ask, I usually tell them I'm from the West Coast. And then I tell them what they're actually asking, which is my heritage. They assume that with a name like mine, there's gotta be a story there, right? And there is. My dad is Russian and Mexican, and my mom is white, and they always ask about my dad. So I tell them about how my grandmother came to America. And I'll tell them how she actually wasn't born in Russia, she was born in China, and how they came to the Dominican Republic by way of the Philippines after World War II, and how she met my grandfather, a Mexican-American man who worked in the Dominican Republic, and he brought her to America. What I don't tell them is how he got to this country, or how he was as a person. There's not a lot that I know about him or his upbringing. I know he grew up in Texas. I know that his parents spoke Spanish, but that's about it. The rest of the stories have been lost. I don't mind sharing the stories that I do have because I'm proud to know them. I mean, in this country, it's a privilege to know about your history at all, because for generations, assimilation has been the cost of admission in America, stripping families of their history and all indicators of otherness in hopes of being accepted and successful in white society. Assimilation is racism at work, and it harms everyone. It is a loss. And for the first time in my life, I'm starting to let myself grieve that loss. I'm also allowing myself to try to rebuild a connection with my Mexican heritage, which is why I sing this song. It's why I studied Spanish in college. And it's why whenever I'm with my grandmother, I try to get the few stories that we do have left from her when we're cooking together or just being together. I encourage others to learn more about your family traditions and stories because it really is something to be proud of.
When I grow old, I hope I don't forget to find them, 'cause I've got memories, travel like strangers in the night. I build a home and wait for someone to tear it down, then pack it up in boxes, move to the next town running, 'cause I've got memories and travel like strangers in the night. And 1,000 times I've seen this road, 1,000 times. I've got no roots, but my home was never on the ground. I got no roots, but my home was never on the ground. I've got no roots. I've got no roots. I like standing still, but that's just a wishful plan. Ask me where I come from, I'll say a different land, 'cause I've got memories, travel like strangers in the night. I count the gates and numbers, then play the guessing game. It's just the place that changes, the rest stays the same, 'cause I've got memories, travel like strangers in the night. And 1,000 times I've seen this road, 1,000 times. I've got no roots, but my home was never on the ground. I've got no roots, but my home was never on the ground. I've got no roots. I got no roots. I've got no roots, but my home was never on the ground. I've got no roots, but my home was never on the ground. I've got no roots. I've got no roots. Oh, I like digging holes and hiding things inside them. When I grow old, I hope I won't forget to find them, 'cause I've got memories, but travel like strangers in the night. The truth is, I do have roots, actually. I've had the privilege of growing up on my family's farmstead with my grandparents right across the yard. The trees that are there are the ones planted by my grandpa when he was my age, and the house that's there was actually built from the ground up from his grandpa. My roots are deep within the soil there, and it's a major part of what makes me me. Now, I've always known that I was lucky to be growing up with so close to family and to live in a home that my ancestors lived in.
But it wasn't until I moved away that I really felt the gravity of that privilege. So I moved here to the Twin Cities in 2014, and over the years of my living here, I have learned some wild root-ripping history. I learned about the beginnings of I-94. So for those who don't know, I-94 runs through the Rondo neighborhood, which was once a thriving community of diverse people. It is said that the planners of the I-94 highway purposely placed the highway right through the Rondo neighborhood in hopes of displacement. And surprise, it happened. Millions of dollars of generational wealth and home equity was lost, along with people's roots. Alongside that, I've also recently learned about restrictive covenants. So restrictive covenants are clauses in home deeds that prevent people of color or of a certain background from being able to own certain property. These restrictive covenants allowed for specific areas of the metro, so green areas, lakefronts, desirable areas. Basically, any place that you can think of where now the homes are worth millions of dollars. These restrictive covenants allowed these areas to remain predominantly white. And to this day, that's how those areas have remained. Because the families who lived there were able to plant roots, gain generational wealth, and maintain a way of life and family. I feel like so many people of color never got to and still don't get that same opportunity to plant roots like I and many other white families did. It makes me grateful for my upbringing, but it makes me sad that those families don't have a place to pass down to the next generation. Just items, memories, stories, if they've kept them.
This poem is called Absiderian at the End of the World. It's after John Moore. Absiderian means something that's arranged alphabetically. So this poem uses the alphabet as its spine. And it's thinking through what happens when violence becomes abstract. Violence through language via media outlets that thrive on collective anxiety, that thrive on mystifying who's harming who. It begins with an epigraph by Joy James. The Afro-pessimists are trashing white liberal hegemony. They say, we don't care about your definitional norms, your grammar or syntax. We don't speak that language anymore. If you understand their political project, the end of the world, it's to rewrite the alphabet. Anti-Black algorithms, like most phantom police, are indifferent to their bullets, cannot compute care, does not know country, only coordinates. Cops, cogs, oiled by their newest blood tithe. CNN reports a red crane descended from the sky and plucked her from inside of her home. Eyewitnesses were questioned as a white sheet laid over them. Firearms or fathers not found at the scene, only Court 45, only forebearer. God is a formation of surveillance mimicking salvation. Homicide, hallelujah. And still, the state sends its choir to hum the blood quiet. Infrared invisible to taxpayers while taxes purchase bulletproof alibis. Juror dismissed for being subjective to their body's exposed siren as our kids question which toys and which hands and which neighborhoods are no longer toys. Progress means the newest hell is a matter of timely emails, a mercenary's fetish. Progress sold history a Band-Aid that matches its skin tone. Name a god, name a price, then name the difference between omniscient and opportunity cost. Fact, the FBI owns the largest body of Black literature in order to predict leading indicators of insurrection. Thus, the caged bird answers leading questions. Her song dismembered, feathers singed beneath fluorescence. She refuses to eat brood parasitic seeds. They'll sprout insurgents, coaxing her to sing a dirge of surrender. And when asleep, she dreams the sky defined by her tattered flight. Dreams her wings invent the silvered valley. The moon's dead light untethers her floating shadow, unzipping the river, a jewel dark against the earth's velvet palm. She dreams the oil plucked and returned, smoke thinned to clean water, the dead alive with the dirt sprouting their blood-wind names, daffodil, Xyris, lavender. She dreams the metal muted, pollen thick in its rusting throat. Yesterday, 11 tanks between the precinct and the schoolyard. The vigil, a militarized zone. Prayers calcified by tear gas. Our bodies, dark as stars, wade toward the fog.
She'd been entrusted with the stories. Every night, she'd go over the stories, word for word, phrase for phrase, to ensure they'd stay fresh and clear in her memory. She'd been entrusted with the stories. So every night, she'd go over the stories, word for word, phrase for phrase, nuance upon nuance, complexity after complexity, and in the morning, more stories. New stories, longer, more complicated stories. Every night, recite over and over, word for word, phrase for phrase, nuance upon nuance, complexity after complexity, and in the morning, more stories. She longed for childhood and simple stories. For the times when she was the carrier of only her own stories, not the stories of all, not all of the stories. She'd been entrusted with the stories, so every night she'd go over the stories, word for word, phrase for phrase, nuance upon nuance, complexity after complexity, and in the morning, more stories, longer stories, more complicated stories. They started to become worn. Places grew threadbare. And the complexity was there only for its own sake, not to increase the tapestry of the tale. She was the person. She'd been entrusted with the stories. But the privilege and responsibility of being of the stories weighed on her. The hair at the crown of her head grew white and wiry. It was the stories. Her stomach pooched out while her legs and arms grew thin and small. It was the stories. She looked for places to tuck words and phrases behind her ears, in the bends of her knees and elbows, between her fingers, between her toes. She looked for places to put more words and phrases behind her ears, in the bends of her knees and elbows, between her fingers, between her toes. She put story after story after story after story after story after story, looking and looking and looking and looking for more and more room. She stopped eating to make room for stories. Story after story after story after story after story after story after story, word for word, phrase for phrase, nuance upon nuance, complexity after complexity. She'd been entrusted with the stories. She longed for childhood and simple stories. She was the person. She had the privilege. She had the responsibility of carrying the stories. The privilege and responsibility of carrying the stories. The privilege and responsibility of wearing the words. she had the privilege and responsibility of passing it on. Of passing it on. Of passing it on. The truth. Sometimes storytelling is cathartic. And we, especially Black people, are often told that we need to tell our stories to bring about change. But the fact, or rather the story, that it takes the murder of a Black man going about his day to, quote, change the world is horrible and heartbreaking, untrue, and far too ordinary. More important, 2 years later, what has changed? We've failed to pass the Voting Rights Act, gun control and anti-lynching laws, to abolish the filibuster, or to implement a no-knock warrant that removes officer discretion in Minneapolis. Rather, we are experiencing a nationwide backlash and retaliatory violence against Black people. So, to speak the same story, word for word, phrase for phrase, without nuance or complexity, over and over and over and over and over, in different cities with different names, but with the same awful ending, is traumatizing. It hurts to speak the stories of our harm and injury again and again and again and again and again and again to people who are not listening. Or perhaps folks are listening, but we, are not acting.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. Or you can start speaking up. Nothing's gonna hurt you the way the words do when they settle beneath your skin. Kept on the inside with no sunlight. Sometimes the shadow wins. But I wonder what would happen if you say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. Just want to see you. I just want to see you. Just want to see you. Everybody's been there, everybody's been stared down by the enemy. Bound to the fear and born to disappear and bow down to the mighty. But don't run, stop holding your tongue. Maybe there's a way out of the cage where you live. Maybe one of these days you can let the light in and show me how big your brave is. Say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. And since your history of silence won't do you any good, did you think it would? Let your words be anything but empty. fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. Just wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. I have a lot of feelings about people.
So did that person. We just have to say thank you.
Thank you.
Live streams are weird.
We all have a lot of feelings. I don't know if you can hear off mic, but we just gotta woo. I'll take it. Yes, I have a lot of feelings about people, about politicians, about institutions in our country and frankly around the world not taking action. When the truth is, I haven't always taken action when I wish that I had. But one time I did because I was invited to, and I curated this show. It was July 2020 here in Minneapolis. We were all rendered helpless by the pandemic and then by the senseless murder of George Floyd and the chaos of the uprisings that followed. And I was so inspired by the artists who stepped up and were creating in the face of such pain and uncertainty. And I knew I wanted to do something too, but I didn't know what or how or if I was even the right person to do it. Then Pangea World Theater asked me and other artists on their staff to curate an artistic response to the current moment. And with that invitation, immediately I stepped up. I thought of an idea. I got a team together. We developed this show. We started performing it in backyards all around, well, okay, a couple backyards around the Twin Cities, but we got it on video. And we put it online. And people from literally around the world shared their appreciation for the opportunity to hear our stories, hear our truths. It was powerful. And it was healing. And we decided to keep it going. So over the last 2 years, Sarah, Andrina, and I have been meeting and talking about current events, material to feed this next iteration of the show. We've laughed and cried and processed current events together. We've had challenging conversations about race and identity and injustice in our society and our community. It's been really meaningful to be working towards something, and it's made the constant onslaught of awful news just a little bit more manageable. So this show exists because I got an invitation. I'm so grateful for that, but I don't want to have to be invited to make change. Next time. The truth is, I have the power within myself to create positive change in the world. I just have to believe in myself enough to do it.
Speaking of bravery, I have noticed parents, in particular mothers, are showing a crazy amount of bravery and courage, and they're not waiting for an invitation to act. They don't wait for people to bring justice for them when they go through some of the most terrible times in their lives. These mothers that I'm talking about are the ones who have lost their children, going through the hardest things that no mother should ever have to go to. But they believe in themselves enough to fight for the justice, to fight for their lost children, and hopefully they can bring about change so that nobody else has to lose their child the way that they have. Mothers like Amir Locke's mom, Karen Wells, who is currently leading the way to end no-knock warrants. Or the mother who escaped handcuffs last week and sprinted into the Uvalde Elementary School where her children were under threat of an active shooter. She grabbed her kids and rushed them to safety before the police were even close to going into the building. These mothers, under the worst times of their lives, just have the bravery to continue to lead the fight. It never wavers, even under the weight of losing their children.
The truth is, I've sung this next song for years. It's a blues. But I wasn't really singing it that way. I wasn't really listening. Then one day, I'm in my car, and I'm listening to this song to remind myself of the lyrics. So for the first time in a long time, I'm actively listening. And I have a thought, a painful thought, one of those song-changing thoughts. You see, last summer on social media, I began to see reports about the remains of children being found on the grounds of Canadian residential schools. It's been difficult to find a confirmed total number, and the United States is only beginning its own searches. But to date, the numbers are estimated to be in the thousands, with hundreds of schools remaining to search. Thousands of children who have been lost and are only beginning to be found. I'm lost and looking for my baby. Wonder where my baby can be found. I'm lost and crying for my baby. Lord knows my babies can't be found. I'm lost, crying for my babies. Has anybody seen them? Does anybody know where they might be found? Lost and searching for my baby. Lord knows my baby ain't around. I'm crying for my baby. Sometimes I cry all night long. I'm begging, pleading, please come home. Lost, looking for my babies. Have you seen them? Can you tell me where they were bound? Lost and looking for my babies. I need you. I'm so all alone. So I had that epiphany about Native babies, and then I realized Black people have a whole legacy. Enslaved people have a legacy of children being taken from them. We have children who were also lost, were also gone from their lives with no knowledge of where they went, how they went, how they were, if they were. There are families still looking for children. Black and brown families around the world, but especially in this North American continent, still looking for children. Because until we find those children, we have this wound that we cannot heal, that will not heal and must not heal. Until we find those children, we'll keep looking, keep looking. I'm crying for my babies. Sometimes I cry all the time. Please, can you help me find them? Bring them back to me. They're mine. I'm lost and searching for my babies. Can you please, 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 please tell me where they might be found? I'm all alone, shaking, crying. Where can they be? We need you. I need you. We won't stop looking for you. We got to find you. Search everywhere, search every place, till we find everyone, till we solved every case. I won't stop looking, I can't stop looking. We won't stop looking, can't stop looking. I'll find you. I need you. I need you. 'Cause I'm so all alone. Well, welcome back, Dante Collins.
Thank you for that song, Sarah. That's going to stay with me for a while. Wow.
Song changing.
If you come with me, I think someday I can show you children you will never have to bury. Octavia Butler, Wild Seed. Black as chrysalis, and iridescent dark. The word itself is shell-shifted each time I speak it. It's sudden syrup, a sweet dark seed inside a casing salted by the sea. And of course the seed is a seed, one my mother pushes softly in the damp August soil to grow what will soon be my job to pick. My hand's mine, but also hers and her mother's, hands handed down, obligated to the garden, meaning to water, to watch, to wait, for her children to arrive as alive as they left, and we did, wild and wistful, saplings spinning in the summer heat, wearing our mother's worry, an American machine of baton and Bible, and we did stay close because we knew our mothers knew something we didn't. A bullet is a seed in America's garden. Watch a black body bloom. No. We conjured our own country, planted peas, red cabbage, and collards, planted tomatoes and basil and summer squash, parsley, peppers, and mint. Kneeling beside my siblings, we gave each seed our names, a ritual of resistance, black as soil, as the sun's quiet labor. I'm saying moms made sure we ate good, grew good, and became full on a future we could touch.
Gonna cry, you guys. Wow. That's the truth.
That is the truth.
Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Someday, yeah, we'll get it together and we'll get it undone. Someday when your head is much lighter. Someday, yeah, we'll walk in the rays of a beautiful sun. Someday when your head is much lighter.
Ooh, child, things have got to get easier. I'll work for that, you work for that. We'll make the world brighter. Every single day, just a little easier. Till the day our hearts are lighter.
Someday, yeah, we'll get it together and we'll get it undone. Someday when your head is much brighter. Someday, yeah, we'll walk in the rays of the beautiful sun. Someday when your head is much lighter. Someday.
This next song is called Have Mercy.
When I count all my blessings, I can't even be sad anymore. Can't even be sad anymore. When I count all my blessings, my heart still hurts for the world that I know. The world that I know. Sinking down under the water, slipping out under, drifted on into the water, thinking out under. Tell me what is it you care for? Is there even a care at all? Praying for sense of direction, praying for love and protection. Slipping down under the water, sinking down under, drifting on into the water, missing down under. Tell me what is it you care for? Is there even a care at all? Praying for sense of direction, praying for love and protection. When I count all my blessings, I can't even be sad anymore. I can't even be sad anymore. See, when I count my blessings, my heart still hurts for the world that I know. The world that I know. Sinking on into the water, slipping on under, drifting on into the water, missing on under. Tell me, what is it you care for? Is there even a cure at all? Praying for sense of direction, praying for love and protection. Sinking on under the water, slipping on under, drifting on into the water, missing on under. Tell me, what is it you care for? Is there even a cure at all? Praying for love and protection, praying for love and protection. Have mercy, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy. Have mercy, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy. Have mercy, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy. See, when I count all my blessings, I can't even be sad anymore. No, can't even be sad anymore. Have you ever had a first world problem moment? It's one of those moments like you go to the grocery store and they don't have your favorite brand of LaCroix. Or you forgot your phone charger at home and your phone dies. The truth is, I have these all the time, every day. And sometimes I get so wrapped into the little issues that I forget. I forget that I actually have it pretty good. I have a solid place to call home. I have friends and family who love me and are alive. I'm gainfully employed, and I get to sing and create money. What?
Let's make that the new thing.
Oh my gosh. I do. I manifest it. But I also get to hang out with my friends and do music, and I get paid for it. That is so cool. That is so cool. I feel safe, and that's not necessarily the norm for some. In my first world problem moments, I try to shift into gratitude, and I start counting my blessings and try to be grateful for the little hurdles that I have to face, because I'm lucky that I don't have to live through or even see the big problems that others are facing. Not if I don't want to. I'm able to empathize and help out and be in the fight for justice and change, but I can also step away and I can recharge. And that's a blessing.
Because the truth is that the last 2 years have been a lot. Like a lot. Like way too much. A lot. Like sit in your bed all day to cry. A lot. So it's necessary to unplug, to put down the phone, turn off the news, and go outside. But it's also easy to shut down and tune out. And if we do that often enough, there are certain problems and certain people who start to disappear. Truthfully, some of this song is about my frustration with the people who don't see me. But most of it is about grappling with the guilt and shame I feel about the people I choose, consciously or not, to unsee. In fact, the first line of this song came to me as the United States was dropping bombs in Syria while Obama was still president. Sometimes it's easier to pretend that I don't see the problems happening in the world got nothing to do with me. I
live my life with compassion and care. How can I be responsible for what's happening over there? Sometimes it's easier to cover up my eyes. Stop looking for the truth, or at least stop checking for the lies. People who know me say that I'm good and kind. How could I be responsible for problems that aren't mine? I don't know, just don't blame me. Don't make me look at the things I can't unsee. I don't know, please let me hide. Keep the vision of myself I hold inside. Sometimes it's easier to pretend that we're all free. Write a check, sign a pledge, but let someone else march in the streets. I live my life not hurting anyone. So how could I be responsible for something I haven't done? Sometimes it's easier to whitewash history, erase the torments of the past and refuse to think critically. Everyone I know lives exactly like me. How could it be possible that some of us aren't free? I don't know, just don't blame me. Don't make me look at the things I can't unsee. I don't know, just let me hide and keep the vision of myself I hold inside. Sometimes it's easier to act helplessly, decide the trouble's too far away and refuse to feel guilty. The problems are so vast, how could I make a dent? Best to keep moving forward than struggle to repent. Sometimes it's easier to look the other way, shut my mouth to keep the peace when there are things that I should say. 'Cause it's so much easier to do what I've always done. You can't hold me responsible, I'm not the only one. 'Cause I don't know, but don't blame me. Don't make me look at the things I can't unsee. I don't know, just let me hide and keep the vision of myself I hold inside. I don't know, just don't blame me. Don't make me look at the things I can't unsee. I don't know, please let me hide and keep the vision of myself I hold inside. And keep the vision of myself I hold inside. Keep the vision of myself I hold inside.
You know, growing up, I was taught that racism wasn't a problem anymore.
Done.
It was a thing of the past. Martin Luther King fixed it in 1960s, and it was done. We live in an equal, post-racial society. Don't you know? Done. Check. And we're laughing right now, but like there are so many people
To
who
keep from crying.
exactly who do not. Let me return to my script. Sorry. There's a lot of people who still think that way. I know some of them, and I've been one of them, even now. Being white, I have the privilege of not having to confront or think about race or racism. And so I have the privilege of sometimes forgetting. just how insidious and harmful racism can be. And it's genuinely disappointing how easy it can be to get complacent, but I just have to refocus, listen, pay attention for like 2 seconds before I am reminded that racism is baked into even the most unexpected parts of our society. One example, when we were putting together songs for this show back in 2020, this song came to me that I was like, nope, not gonna do that one. But the more that I kept listening to it, the more I was like, there's something here. It was Living on a Prayer by John Bon Jovi. And there was something about living on a prayer, just giving all the benefit of the doubt, all of the pride in the struggle, all of the pride in, seeking your dreams through adversity that just stuck out to me as being such a white experience of poverty. Because the narrative around Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Asian American, BIPOC people being in poverty is not the same. For decades, social services and welfare have been actively and repeatedly defunded because BIPOC people aren't seen as deserving of assistance. They are blamed for their own circumstance, denied grace, despite the centuries of racist policies and covenants and interstate projects that have intentionally prevented these communities from acquiring and building wealth. So I'm not going to sit here and call Mr. Bon Jovi a racist, but this song is an important reminder of how easy it is to forget other people's experiences and how harmful it can be to so often be excluded from the narrative. Racism is insidious, yes, but it is not too complex to fix. We have to acknowledge it. We have to admit the harm that is being done, and we have to build a better world with care and intention. Because I hope that one day a song like that can be for everyone. I really want to say we're halfway there, but we aren't there just yet.
Tommy used to work on the docks. Union's been on strike. He's down on his luck. It's tough. So tough. Gina works the diner all day, working for a man. She brings home her pay for love. Ooh, for love. She says, oh, hold on to what we've got. Doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We got each other, and that's a lot for love. We'll give it a shot. Whoa, we're halfway there, yeah. Living on a prayer, take my hand. We'll make it, I swear, yeah. We're living on a prayer. Thomas got a 6-string and hock. Now he's holding in when he used to make it talk so tough. It's so tough. Gina dreams of running away when she cries in the night. Tommy whispers, baby, it's okay. someday. We gotta hold on to what we've got. Doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We've got each other, and that's a lot for love. We'll give it a shot. Whoa, we're halfway there, yeah. Living on a prayer, take my hand. We'll make it, I swear, yeah. We're living on a We gotta hold on, ready or not. We live for the fight when it's all that you've got. And I said, whoa, we're halfway there, yeah. Living on a prayer, take my hand. We'll make it, I swear, yeah. We're living on a prayer. We're halfway there, yeah. Living on a prayer, take my hand. We'll make it, I swear, yeah. We're living on a Thanks.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
over there like all night, so I'm gonna.
Well,
I'm gonna
this
move over
that's
here.
okay.
You want to be in the hot seat.
Ooh. Oh wait, we still didn't. That's okay.
A braid. We're making a braid.
That's fitting.
I was so set on where I was going. Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. So,
Yes.
well, Andrina, we're here, and they're there, and so I have kind of a personal question for you. I mean, you don't mind, right? In front of all these. It's just
let's hear
us
it.
here.
Let's and we don't know how many people are there, but
Yeah,
let's have it.
Thousands.
Oh gosh.
Feel free not to answer. But how do you feel about your blackness?
Oh, that's a good question, Sarah. Let me tell you. I don't really know. I mean, I love my blackness because I am black. Believe it or not, I'm mixed. But it's challenging sometimes just because I am mixed. So I'm not sure. Sometimes it's what it feels like to me is sometimes I'm too black, but others I'm not black enough. It's like I gotta be one way or the other way, or not too much this, but little too much of that.
I remember feeling that way. And it certainly doesn't help when people look at you and make assumptions about how you've lived your life as a black person.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Are you from Chicago?
Actually, no, I'm from North Dakota, believe it or not.
Ooh, I'd love to hear you sing the blues.
I am a fan of the Jonas Brothers. I am a pop gal, all through and through.
Okay, pop, but I mean, you must sing gospel, though.
Sarah, I grew up in a Lutheran church. I can sing harmonies with the best of them, but
I sit. You won't see me getting up in church singing hallelujah.
Well, in the studio, I'm sorry. It's not quite. Well, Could you do it with a little more sass?
Oh gosh. Will we ever hear the end of it?
I don't know.
It just seems like that's what it's like. You can't be both.
Right.
You got to be one way or the other way. People don't allow us to be mixed as we are. They see us and they automatically decide what we are, who we are, how we grew up. It's like, this is who you got to be. I'm going to sing about it. I'm feeling a type of way.
I'll join you.
Oh, will you?
I will.
Let's do it. Listen as your day unfolds. Challenge what the future holds. Try to keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. Stand up and be counted. Don't be ashamed to cry. You gotta be bad. You gotta be bold. You gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard. You gotta be tough. You gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool. You gotta be calm. You gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Hear what your mother said. Read the books your father read. Try to solve your puzzles in your own sweet time. Some may have more cash than you. Others take a different view. My, oh my, yeah. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Time has no question, it goes on without you, leaving you behind if you can't stand the pace. The world keeps on spinning, can't stop it if you try to. The best part is danger staring you in the face. Remember, listen as your day unfolds. Challenge what the future holds. Try to keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you fears. Go ahead, release your fears. My, oh my, yeah. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Yeah. All I know, love will save the day. All I know, love will save the day. Thanks for singing with me, Sarah.
Thanks for telling me your truths, Andrina.
That's what we're here for. And we're also here for this very special announcement. This is my annual PSA. So if I could have everyone's attention, please turn up your computer or your TV if you're watching at home. Very important. Please keep your hands to yourself. Yes, simple as that. If you may be, touching items, here we go. This is what I wanted to say, that are not yours, or people who are not yourself, is a no-no. No, especially without permission.
No.
Okay?
No.
So please keep your hands to yourself. We're literally in the middle of a global pandemic. So hands off. Now you may be thinking, yes, I know it's very intense. Well, Andrina, why? Why so intense? Why do you feel this type of way about touching? Well, let me tell you. So it all stems from my hair, okay? So growing up, I grew up in North Dakota. Not a lot of people looked like me. So
people thought it'd be really cool to just touch my hair without asking. And those who do ask or did ask would have their little fingers on my scalp before the question was even out of their mouth. Ugh.
No.
Yeah. It's taken me such a long time to tell people no when they ask to touch my hair, or develop the sixth sense to kind of like karate chop them away before they get too close, you know? Because I used to think that if people were loving my hair, then that meant that they were loving me. I thought that those two were inseparable, and my hair is what made me me. But this is not the truth. Da, 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 da. Yeah. Little girl with the pressing curls. Age 8, I got a Jerry curl. 13 and I got a relaxer. I was a source of so much laughter. 15 when it all broke off. 18 when I went all natural. February 2002 I went on a date, but I had to do cause it was time to change my life, to become the woman that I am inside. 97 dreadlocks all gone. I looked in the mirror for the first time. I saw that, hey, I am not my hair, I am not this skin, I am not your expectations, no. I am not my hair, I am not this skin, I am the soul that lives within. Da 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 da. Good hair means curls and waves. Bad hair means you look like a slave. At the turn of the century, it's time for us to redefine who we be. You can shave it off like a South African beauty, wear it on like Bob Marley. You can rock it straight like Oprah Winfrey. It's not what's on your head, it's what's underneath. It said, hey, I am not my hair, I am not this skin, I am not your expectations, no. I am not my hair, I am not the skin, I am the soul that lives within. Does the way I wear my hair make me a better person? Does the way I wear my hair make me a better friend? No. Does the way I wear my hair determine my integrity? I am expressing my creativity. I am not my hair. Put your hands together if you're at home. Not the skin. I am not your expectations. No. I am not my hair. Yeah. I am not the skin. I am the soul. Come on, man, bring it back. Hey, yeah. I am not my hair. I am not your expectations. No. I am not my hair, I am not the skin, I am the soul that lives within. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to make your own applause.
We loved it. Oh, man.
So, speaking of being asked to sound black.
Oh. Yep, continue. I want to hear this.
That's something that, as a professional vocalist, I have been asked to do often. Disturbingly often.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've taken pride in singing with power and facility.
Good word.
But also, at a certain point, I realized that it's... how do you say it?
Not appropriate.
Not appropriate. It's not appropriate. And it's awkward, honestly, to try to sound like someone that I am not. And it's something that's been drilled into me for years, something I've had to consciously unlearn. And the truth is, it is common practice for white folks to claim things that we like about someone else's culture without taking time to understand what those things mean to folks from that community. And realizing that has actually helped me to find my own voice. Because I don't need to try to be someone I'm not, especially when, I don't know.
But I mean, we should find other people inspirational, right? We can find other people inspirational. We want to look at somebody else and say, "Hey, that's cool. Maybe I wanna be like you."
You? Me? Yeah. And maybe like a version of me, but like not me. And I want to be like you.
But no, we shouldn't try to be like each other. We should try to be like
Ourselves.
Like ourselves. So I want to be like me.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yes. It makes sense. We swear.
Just wait.
Ooh, we gonna get funky for a second.
I'm gonna be over here.
All right. Who's that sexy thing I see over there? That's me, standing in the mirror. What's that icy thing hanging around my neck? It's gold. Show me some respect. I thank God every day that I woke up feeling this way. And I can't help loving myself, and I don't need nobody else.
If I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. If I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I walk in like a dime piece. I walk straight to VIP. I never pay for my drinks. My entourage behind me. My life's a movie.
Tom Cruise.
So bless me, baby.
Achoo.
And even when they try to, they can't do it like I do. I thank God every day that I woke up feeling this way. I can't help loving myself, and I don't need nobody else. Now, if I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. If I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'm sure they're clapping wildly.
We have
in the
a lot of fun
crowdcast
here.
room. They are in the lobby. Thank you, folks in the lobby. Oh, I have to settle down because the truth is that America has history with black bodies, not just as unpaid laborers or enslaved people, but as receptacles for violence. This history shows up in how we parade beaten, injured, and dying black bodies online and on TV, in how we expect black bodies to be and behave like white bodies, while simultaneously and paradoxically assuming that those bodies don't have the same hopes, aspirations, or need of care. This history shows up in how we continue to disappear black bodies and the harm done to them, in the ways we pledge to protect them but fail to enact meaningful policies to do so, in the ways we appropriate and or deny black culture. That's one more way we devalue black bodies. So, is it the differences in our hair or our skin color that create a disconnect?
Perhaps. More likely, it's that for many white people, too few black people occupy real and regular places in their lives. We only exist on TV, or in movies, or in pictures on the wall. All right. This song's called Two Dimensional. How'd it come to be? You see our faces. You think we're two-dimensional, like a picture on a wall. How can we be free and ask for more spaces if we're only two-dimensional, like a picture on the wall? It's not for us to live in the world that you do, not for us to strive or pursue, not for us to question or get angry. No, those are rights reserved for you. How'd it come to be? You see our faces. You think we're two-dimensional, like those pictures on your wall. Don't need to be free or take up more spaces. We're only two-dimensional. We're living pictures on the wall. A brown-skinned Peter Pan who never ages, lynchings of a different kind for you to view, reduced to laughing boys or wise old sages who are black and white and mute. Knee's been back there holding it down. We'll make sure you have full visual access. Now it's come to be. You see our faces. You think we're two-dimensional, like those pictures on your wall. How we ever gonna get free or take up more places if we're only two-dimensional or not pictured at all? So many things we are, you devalue. So many truths we hold, you disbelieve. You can't imagine how we're made to suffer or grasp how deeply we grieve. So I remember wondering if I would ever sing two-dimensional to anyone. I was apprehensive about sharing the truths in that song, because as any marginalized person can tell you, telling the truth can have costs.
That if we want to create change to the systems in our country that cause harm and divide us, we have to start telling each other what's really going on.
Sometimes burning truths are like wildfires, just raging in us, taking up so much and too much space, making us feel a little bit out of control.
And some truths are teeny tiny embers that are struggling to become a flame.
But if we listen and breathe and take time and make time, we can fan a tiny spark into a roaring fire.
And that's what we tried to do with this project.
To remind ourselves that we all have the power within us to make positive change in the world. Don't wait for an invitation.
Your burning truth can be the light to help someone else find their way.
And remember,
Keep
your hands to yourself.
Most important. Be the light and shine. Take it one step at a time. On your journey home. Be the light and shine. Use your heart and your mind. And everything is gonna be fine. It's a sing-along, ladies. Be the light and shine. Take it one step at a time. On your journey home. Be the light and shine. You gotta use your heart and your mind. Then everything is gonna be fine. Be the light and shine, even if it takes you some time. Even if you struggle, even when you stumble, as you make your way. You've got to be a light and shine, especially in these perilous times. It's the only way we're gonna be fine. I said, be the light and shine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One step at a time. On your journey, as you make your way home. Be the light and shine. You gotta use your heart and your mind. Then everything is gonna be fine. Okay, let's break it down, band. We say, as you walk on your way, in the night and day, for your family, your friends, be the light. From the beginning to the end, when the way is dark, be the light. You might be a spark. Don't you think it's time for us to shine? Be the light and shine. Take it one tiny step at a time. Oh, even if you struggle, even if you stumble, as you make your way, you got to be a light and shine. You show me yours and I'll show you mine. Then everything is gonna be fine. I said every little thing, everything is gonna be fine. Don't you worry, be happy and glad, 'cause everything.
When the light is dark, you gotta be the spark. When the door is closed, you be the one that opens doors.
When the darkness closes in, you're the one who must begin. Then everything is gonna be fine.
Take us to church. Uh-oh. We have so many people to thank. Starting right here with Walker West Music Academy for letting us be our live streaming home away from home. Thanks to Braxton Halsey, Sharina, Shantae, who's talking with people in the chat. Special thanks to Pangea World Theater.
And our team is supporting us today, Suzanne Cross and Molly Lacey. We also want to thank
Dave and
behind the camera, and Jeff Andrews.
They're the reason you're seeing and hearing us this evening. Maybe we should thank the band.
Suppose so. All right, give it up, folks. Back here on the drums, we got Miguel Hurtado. Holding it down on the bass is Nee Mensa.
Even if it takes you some time, you got to be the light.
Plugging all those keys is Theo Brown.
You got to be the light. You got to be the light.
And how about who we got on stage?
Over here to my left, your right, we have the curator of this program, Katia Cardenas.
Don't wait to act.
And over on my right, your left, we have the fabulous Miss Sarah Greer.
Holding it down in the center, standing firm and center, Ms. Andrina Brogden. Our family and friends, our community, all the people who supported this project, people who donated to support this project. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for letting us share our burning truths one last time.
We also have 2 more shows coming up. If you want to come see us live and you're here in the Twin Cities, we will be outdoors on the lawn of the Eastside Freedom Library tomorrow at 6:30 and Sunday at 2:30. And anyone can rewatch this show anytime on Crowdcast, so share it out with your people. Let's spread this burning truth.
Thank you everybody so much for tuning in.
Light and shine.
We gotta go.
It's
that time.
Be the light and shine. Even when it takes you some time, I gotta be the light. We're gonna be the light. We're gonna be the light. We're gonna be the light. Then everything is gonna be fine. Said everything is gonna be fine. Everything is gonna be fine. Everything is gonna be fine. When the way is dark, you could be a spark. When the darkness closes in, you're the one who must begin. When the way is closed, guess who opens doors? And everything is gonna be fine.